What's up? What's up? What's up? Podcast World Chat building back at you. Another episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody. We've been having a lot of excitement around some of our themes, and one of those themes is music, our taste in music. It's a little bit different, but it's the right taste. And I would never say, like, you got to listen to me. I'm not going to get on a soapbox and say, you got to listen to this person. I'm just telling you, give things a chance. If you don't like hunting, you don't like living off the land, give it a chance. Be educated before you go drop that ballot and say that you're an anti. If you love country music, give it all a chance, because there's so much of it out there that I want to be heard by the masses. The masses deserve to hear it. Today's episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody is brought to you by my man Ward Gunther in Nashville, Tennessee. Whiskey Jam Monday nights, venues, concerts in Chicago, concerts in Las Vegas, but it's a staple in Nashville. If you want to see some of the best up and coming talent there is, I love what Whiskey Jam's culture is. I love what their message is. They're doing a heck of a job of getting the artist, getting the music, getting the story, getting the song, getting the lyric out to us. So check it out. If you're in Nashville, if you're in Midtown on a Monday night, go over to Winners and get in that bar and get a place and listen to somebody. You just might see the next Luke Combs. And I like Luke, and he's one of the guys on the radio that I do appreciate these days. I'm not saying I appreciate them all. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with any of them. To each their own. And like my good friend Brent Cobb once told me and educated me on, country music is going to do what country music is going to do, and I ain't going to try to fight it. But my guest today is the man. He comes out of that same thought process, that same school, that same upbringing. When he told me what state he's from, I was like, man, this could be Chris Knight right here I'm talking to. And y'all have heard me and Brent Cobb talk about Chris Knight. I could listen to Chris Knight records all day, and I could listen to this man's songs and records and his lyric all day. This dude is as real can get. Kyle Daniel, how the heck are you, my brother?
Man, I'm great. How are you, dude?
I'm loving life. I'm just kind of, I'm staying away from the everyday quarantine conversation, because it always is like you could just read a script almost. I'm trying to be optimistic, stay positive, find influence in it, time with my daughter, just concentrating and staying in my lane and getting work done. How about you?
Man, same. I think that staying positive nowadays is definitely, that's the number one thing on my priority list, is to keep my head up and keep going, because it's so easy to just wake up and turn your phone on, or check your social media and get down in the dumps about it. So I've kind of I keep calling myself Bob Vila Jr. I'm more like an amateur Tim the Tool Man, but I've been out back, on the deck, sanding and pressure washing and staining and sealing the deck. So I've been trying to do all kinds of stuff around the house that I don't get to do normally. Yeah,
me too. And I think a lot of stuff with my daughter, wild game, a lot of home ec stuff, a lot of physical education, and just, it's amazing. I was talking to somebody yesterday about, this is what we should be doing. We get in the hustle and bustle, and we got writer rounds, or you got songwriting deals, you got demos, you got studio time, you got travels, you got family, you got baseball games, you got dance recital, and then you slow down and all of it's taken away, and you're like, man, it's okay. We don't have to rush around as much as we once were. It's okay to miss a little league practice to go and ride a horse, or go up on an UTV ride and see the mountains. It's okay. Just chill out for a minute.
Yeah. Well, and I think that we all kind of start to see the things that are most important in our lives. And I think that that's one of the most positive things that we can all take out of it.
Hey, I have to, one of the things I read up on you is that Jason Isbell. I don't know how well you know him. I know that you've been around him. I know that you've been on a venue with him. What did he do lately that I saw was it at the Ryman or somewhere, where he just stood out with the curtain closed and did something? I didn't get any details. Did you see anything that he's done lately?
I have not. No, I have not. My college band played with him quite a few times in and around Murfreesboro, and I think we did a couple shows in Alabama with him. So
he's pretty strong.
Oh man, as strong as strong can get right now. He's a definite songbird of our generation.
Yeah, he's a hammer, man. He's coming here in concert and I hope they happen. I don't know what's going to happen. The concert's coming up, but. Yeah, I like him. He's got a good voice. But man, you have I don't know how to describe your songwriting, and I don't know if you could give me a synopsis of what matters to you. You say optimism matters to you. You say positivity, but you could write a good breakup song in a song that'll hit you in your ass and make you go, man, that'll get to your heart right there. What is your what would your thesis be if you were writing a songwriting thesis your senior year at University of Kentucky? What would it be? Is it so unorthodox that you couldn't explain it, or do you have a general thesis and purpose?
No, I think that my main purpose is to create and make an impact. That to be empathetic, to relate to people, and be able to express myself in ways that I don't normally do in day-to-day life through song. And I often find that it's a lot easier for me to do that than it is to get real in person, because there's a lot of touchy things that happen, that you have friends that struggle with addictions, or, breakups, or just everyday human things. I think it's often it's often easy to kind of step back and not approach those situations the way that you would if there was no filter. So I feel like for me, songwriting is kind of that no filter zone where I try to cut as deep as I can into the idea and dissect the process. I think my songs come from a million different ways. I could be a guitar part, or it could be a title, or a feeling, or, just an overall idea. I think that they come in many forms and shapes, and I just try to guide myself alongside the song as they come to me. And I feel like thus far, that's been the one thing that has helped me concentrate on that bullseye of songwriting, not to just write kind of stream of consciousness all over the board, to have a real purpose for what I'm trying to write and go after it.
So let's take a lyric like the title. You mentioned title or a guitar or something. And I love what you're saying in that, because like when I read a title of a song that says Born to Lose, and I love this song, right? Like I could listen to this song every day. Like you've heard me tell your good friend Brent Cobb, like I won't go to bed without listening to a Brent Cobb song. I'm the same way with Kyle Daniel. I've gotten to be that way with Paul McDaniel. I've gotten to be that way with Adam Hood, Channing Wilson. I could keep naming them. These guys that touch me. These girls touch me. Okay. Born to Lose is, you read that title and automatically you think Kyle's in a bad place when he wrote it. He can't get anywhere in life. No matter what door he opens, it closes. No matter what window he opens, the air won't hit his face. Like all of these things go to my head. Like, are you really a loser, or what are you trying to tell somebody by just that title, Born to Lose? Because if you go back to my favorite rock band of all time is Guns N' Roses. Well, when I read a lyric like Locomotive, I go, oh, this is about a train. And then you hear the song and you're like, first off, this is genius. And second off, it's not about what I thought it was going to be about. And you're just told, it's like, what is that concept of a title? And then somewhere lyrically, it takes you to a direction to where, do you write the lyric first and then come up with the name? Or do you have to come up with a name like Born to Lose and then write around that concept? Because I don't get kind of how you would come up with that title and then get a song to come out the way you did. Does that make sense to you, how I asked that?
Absolutely. Yeah. That song in particular came from a title. And I have a running list on my phone of notes and, little things that I may hear someone say, or I may just randomly think of when I'm out for a walk with the dog or what have you. I just constantly am writing down either emotions or concepts or titles or something to kind of go back to at a later date and say, okay, when you show up in the writer room with somebody like Brent Cobb, you don't show up empty-handed. Like you show up with some good concepts, with some good titles, or a piece of something that you've already started. And I kind of had to learn that the hard way in Nashville, because I've only been writing here for the past 2 years, hardcore. And I've been here for over a decade, but I really dug in the past couple of years, and I would show up to these rights with some of these dudes that I didn't really even belong in the same room at the time with those dudes with, the level of talent that they were. But if you don't go in with something that you feel strong about, or something that, you can bring in to contribute to the right, they're not going to give you their best ideas anyway. So you kind of have to come to the table prepared and have your ducks in a row.
So when you being at your level and you really digging in, but then you make a statement like, I'm not going to show up in a BC or a Brent Cobb, right? without my ducks in a row. What do you see at your talent level? Because I'm just a dude that I don't write songs. I call ducks. But then when I hear a Brent Cobb song, I'm like, that's my life. You being the professional that you are, and you are on that level of being able to get invited in a room with a guy like Brent Cobb. What do you see in him? What is the inspiration? Why would you ever say those words like, you have to be prepared? He's on a different level. What makes Brent Cobb make Kyle Daniels say that?
He's just, man, he has got a knack for the English language. He puts words together and forms these intricate, detailed pieces of furniture in the room. As far as storytelling is concerned, he's about as down home and real as you can possibly get. He's not a lot of fluff. He's not one of these guys that's using a ton of bang words. He's not hitting the millennial chant, in his choruses and stuff like that. He's playing as if he were born in a completely different generation. The late 60s, early 70s, just, man, when music felt differently, when it sounded differently and looked differently. Brent really comes from that honest, like I said, good old boy place where you want to know him based on his songwriting ability, and his artistry. And he's one of those guys that I've looked up to ever since I started doing this because of his ability to craft a song. And so you don't want to waste his time, and you definitely don't want to waste that right going in without at least a few different ideas and avenues to go down.
So is it kosher for you to talk about like one of your experiences with him, of what came out of it, and was, the idea that you had and the reaction? Because I could see that, like, oh, I got an idea for a song. And then you go in there and they're just like, yeah. Okay, and they don't know really how to tell you, kind of like, oh, we've had that idea, or that's already been done. But when you talk about the wordsmithing, and like a lyric comes to mind that you've heard, I've heard, is in Morning's Gonna Come, when he describes that single wide trailer and the cheetah print sheets and the bed's real cozy. And all of that is like, dude, I've lived that. Like, I've been in that trailer park kind of deal. Do you go into it intimidated, Kyle, or do you go in like not flexing, but more like, dude, I'm ready for this? And when you did it, what was the reaction? Give me an instance, or if you can, what did happen in an instant like that?
Well, I'll kind of backtrack, because Brent and I met each other initially back in the, I guess, early 2000s, would have been like maybe 2006. I was going to MTSU for music business, and I was running around with people like Anderson East and Jeffrey Jocelyn. And I had a group of my own called The Last Straw, and Brent was around, and Aaron Ratier, who's a monster songwriter as well, was in that kind of crew of dudes. And so we ran around in the same circles. We didn't hang out a whole lot. One thing led to another. His career went one way, we went the other. And so, I remember when I dug into writing a couple of years ago, Ben Ratliff was like, man, let me, I know it's going to take a while because he's really booked up, but let me try to get you a write with Brent. I thought, man, oh, good Lord. That's like saying, hey, here you go, dude. Like, here's the free ticket, like go write the hit, And so I was super excited about it. And I think it got pushed back, and it probably took about 8 months for us to finally get in the room together. But the one song that came out of that time that we got together was Ain't No Difference, which was on my very first record.
And it's amazing. Just so you know, that freaking song, go.
Thank you. And a fairly fitting song for right now, all things considered. And I got in the room, and I remember his manager was around the office at the time. So he kind of came in, and yeah, there was intimidation for sure. There's his manager, and here's Brent Cobb himself, like, although we knew each other and we were acquaintances, there's still a level of intimidation because the dude is, like I said, he's on another level. He's not to say that it diminishes what I do, but it definitely makes me dig deeper into my thought process. definitely looked at that situation as a growing opportunity to kind of look at how he crafted the song and how he took it from A to Z. And yeah, man, it was really good. He brought that in. He brought that idea for Ain't No Difference in. And we just started kind of whittling away at it. And about an hour and a half later, we came out with it. And I was super proud of it.
And when you say super proud, what's your reaction when you lay it down? What kind of feelings go through a songwriter's mind emotionally, psychologically, physically? When you write a song like that hits you that hard, and you know damn well it's going to hit somebody else hard when they hear it, which is my reasoning in saying that this music needs to be all on the radio every day, like 100 times a day, because this is life. This is true music to me. What goes through your body when you hear it laid down, when you hear his part? When do you guys look at each other and go, we're done, we got it? Talk to me about all of the different emotions that roll through your body physically, like I said.
There's a sense of pride in it for sure when you get that take, you know, when you finally have it all laid out and you're able to get as close to the pulse of that emotion as possible. I think that's the most satisfying part of it, is to, as a musician, you know, we think on, especially as a songwriter, we think on a lyrical level, but we also think on an arrangement and a musical level as well, and what is going to create that tension or create a musical marriage between the feeling and emotion of the music and the lyric. And when you can get close to it, man, there's no other high like it. It's really an awesome feeling to get that close.
So when you talk about that feeling, and I'm trying to get you to talk about other music because I don't know you that well, and sometimes when I come across on a conversation like this in a podcast format, is, do you really want to talk about Kyle Daniel? I've talked to MMA fighters that don't want to talk about their fights, but they'll talk about other fighters, like Forrest Griffin the other day is like, don't talk about my fights because it's just gonna. He goes, don't make me mad. I don't want to think about my fights, and I don't know if some songwriters are like that too. Well, they steer away from it. Like, no, I'm good about my music, but I got no problem. So I'm filling you out a little bit and getting a feel of like, of the common ground or the common thread that we share with some people. Is, you said, okay, well, you have the lyric, but what does it sound like in voice? What does it sound like in the composition? What does the music sound like? What does the chord progression sound like? When you think about, I'm staying on Brent Cobb because he's a constant in my life. He's a constant in your life, and our audience knows him. So I'm trying to give them an idea of who you are through his music. And then once you sing, they're going to be like, oh, this son of a bitch has got it. Like, this dude has got it. So that's kind of the way that my mind thinks. And I hope that you understand that, your admiration for him shows me that you and I kind of think along the same lines. Like, when I hear that song, Ain't No Difference, I'm like, this is genius, and this is like the song that I want my kids listening to, that I want my friends listening to. This is my backyard song. This is what we're going to be jamming to, right? But you as a person, when you hear Brent Cobb sing it, or when you hear, let's take for example his new track, The World Is Ending. When you hear it, you're like, Quentin Tarantino movie, I got to listen to it again. Rewind. Oh shit, I got something else out of it. Quentin Tarantino movie part 3, Pulp Fiction, you can't get it in 5 turns, right? Every time you watch Pulp Fiction, you're like, what? I didn't see that the first time. And then when you listen to a Brent Cobb song, you're like, what? He's got a gun now? Wait, he's shooting stars with, is there really a gun in the room? So I ask him that, is there a gun in the room when you're right? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you? Do you feel that when you hear his voice? Can Brent sing? Can he deliver a song in a way that makes Kyle Daniel go, oh my gosh, like that's like John Lennon met this guy, and like it's hard to compare. I heard Adam Hood call him the Southern Norah Jones, the male version of Norah Jones of the South. And so, like, what does he do? What does the voice do? How do you see his voice and his delivery in coordination with his lyric?
Man, he's so smooth. I think he's just so cool with his delivery. And I don't really know as far as tonally who he would like remind me of. But he definitely has that kind of James Taylor-ish feel to what he does. I know he was talking about Guy Clark and stuff like that on the podcast. And I'm not one to necessarily try to compare people to other people. Although we all do it because that's the easiest way to kind of draw a line between two dots. And but yeah, man, his delivery is just so cool. He's so suave, like, you know, just kind of like Billy Gibbons is really cool as a guitar player. He's real smooth, like, you know, Brent Cobb is that in the Americana world and in that kind of real life country music, not pop country world.
So with that with that being said about songwriting and delivery, when you get in the room, do you start to transition into the Kyle Daniel you are now, or have you stuck? Is it the same as you were with the college band and you were going around when you first heard of Brent Cobb, or do you evolve as an artist when you get around inspiration? I'm not saying that you want to be that guy because you're nowhere near that same like Brent Cobb and you are on the same level to me, but you are not Brent Cobb and Brent Cobb is not you. So I'm not trying to say like you would ever copy a style, but do you find yourself like taking a little bit and being a melting pot and being like, all right, I got to work on this, and then you apply that to what your portfolio is?
Well, going back to kind of the last straw stuff, man, as far as I'm a completely different human being. As far as that, I was a terrible person back then. You know, it was for me back then. I was in college. I was young. I was dumb. I was, you know, probably doing a bunch of shit that I shouldn't be doing. And it wasn't really focused on the music. It was all I guess whether it was 5 inches or 5 feet of difference in between the crowd and the stage, you know, there was some sort of like weird ego thing that I definitely took advantage of. And as I've grown older, I feel like my priorities have changed. My views and the way that I look at the world have changed. And I feel like it's, I've kind of grown into this different person. You know, I don't even think as far as that's concerned, I don't even think they're the two in the same, one in the same, rather they're completely different human beings. So for me, it's, I think for me, I'm more apt to write a song, trash it, come back to it, and really want to like get it right nowadays. When back then I was more concentrated on like, man, how cool does the music sound? How can we make people dance? And how can we throw a party? You know, it was all about the party back then. I think that's probably the shortest way to talk about it. Nowadays, it's a lot different.
Well, I think nowadays you have a different responsibility, Kyle, because now you're speaking to people that aren't interested in dancing at a Kentucky party with their friends. They're more interested in life and the experience and the emotional part of it. And right. I think that's why when I hear your music, I'm like, I don't care where I have to drive to, I'm going to watch this dude because of what he makes me feel like. And that's a big responsibility. I think that that's what music is intended to do. And I think that I know that Brent Cobb would probably get mad at me for saying this, and you might too. I think that country music radio has gotten away from that culture, and that pisses me off. And I get so, not offended, but I get so like, dude, my dad is rolling over in his grave, and so is Waylon, by the way. And Merle hasn't been in his that long, but he is too. And it's a shame because there is a reason why country music does to people what it does. And I think that it's gotten away from that. And I think that people like Chris and what he did and Miranda continues to try to do, I think we do have some good voices there. And I'm not saying that any of them are bad voices. I'm simply saying that the lyric is not put first. The emotion is not put first anymore. And it's about that tailgate and that party and that music and that fast car and that county fist fight and all the cliche stuff. And I want to be affected. I want to go to bed and wake up going, man, that song just made me a better person. I am going to work on you know what I'm saying? Like that's what the music that you write does to a 45-year-old man in Reno, Nevada. So now these days you have a different responsibility, and so does Brent, and so does Chad. Even though you guys could say, I just write my music for myself, this is me, the responsibility is there because now you're getting introduced to all these people that are taking your music as gospel now. Like that's how I live my life. That is me right there. When I hear the world is ending, I have done that. I have looked at life that way, and that's a big responsibility. And that's what the lyric does. That's what the chord progression is meant to do. That's what the suave and the smoothness of the chicken dance that Brent will do on stage once in a while. That's what makes you think, oh my God, that dude is delivering my life's message right now. And that might sound dramatic, but music is dramatic, man. It's supposed to make you go through all of these ups and downs. And that's why when you hear a title like Born to Lose, you're like, dude, that song just made me feel like I can never do that. I'm not going to lose. And that's what I get out of it. When I hear Ain't No Difference, I'm like, wow. First off, how do you come up with it? Because I can't do that. And Brent's like, anybody could write a song, bud. I'm like, you're an idiot for saying that. And I know that he's so smart, right? He's like, I don't even barely have a high school diploma. I went to one, all this stuff. I'm like, well, you got a lot of wisdom. You know what I'm saying, Kyle? Not everybody can deliver a lyric this way that you guys are doing. So my point in saying all of that was to get to this. You have a different responsibility these days because now you can't back up Ain't No Difference with a tailgate party song and have me go, oh yeah, that's the same Kyle Daniel. It's a big responsibility as a songwriter is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah. And there's got to be a common thread through it all, that you kind of have to, once you lay the seeds in the dirt, you can't, I'm not going to say that you have to like put yourself in a box and stay in one lane, but it's all got to be around the same thing. It's got to feel authentic. It's got to feel real because it needs to be real. And I think that that's the difference between what's happening with this kind of Southern revival of dudes, Brent, obviously, guys like Lucas Nelson, Blackberry Smoke, those kind of cats, Marcus King, that are bringing this real life, real honest musicians that have honed their craft, playing their instrument, not hitting the space bar on a computer. You're seeing that's the biggest difference, that these guys are talking about reality, whereas a lot of the stuff that's getting pumped out, and not to trash talk it. I mean, it is what it is. It's the music business for a reason. There's no doubt about that. And what is getting pumped through the system is not always going to be the most real shit. It is oftentimes going to be what the head honcho in charge feels like is going to sell, or people are going to.
But my question to you, Kyle Daniel, is that head honcho that's pushing that button, which I call cubicle country. You've heard me say that, I'm sure, on a podcast where I just see all these robots in these cubicles just pumping out these songs, right? That's not songwriting. That's not songwriting. Is it an 18-year-old girl that's buying merchandise and sneaking her first beer at a country concert that they're going after? Who are they going after with this selection that we hear on country music? Why do I have to go to Prime Country to hear a Travis Tritt song that was written the way a country song's supposed to be written? Why do I have to go to Prime Country? It's country radio for a reason. What is that button being pushed? Who is it intended to be pushed for, in your opinion?
I think it is the younger generation. I think it's the 18 to 28 demographic, realistically. And I guess it depends on how young at heart you think you are. But that's definitely, I feel like because when you show up at a major country music festival, I played with Claire Dunn and Casey James for a couple of years and played every major country music festival in the United States. And that's what you see is 18 to 28. That is a pretty prime demographic. It's, younger kids, that want to throw down. They love to party. So it's, instead of Bonnaroo, when I was in high school, it was like, that was cool to be a hippie and have long hair and wear tie-dye t-shirts and listen to, Widespread Panic and the Allman Brothers and the Grateful Dead and all that kind of stuff. And so that was cool then. And then it kind of turned to the electronic techno EDM thing for a little while. And, now country over the past decade or two has really kind of blown up as this mainstream party atmosphere type of thing. So I think they're trying to appeal to that demographic.
So can there ever be a transition and get back to what country once was? Because when I hear a Merle song and the genius in this lyric of those, can we get back to putting the lyric out front and putting that back into the mainstream? Do you think that this movement that Brent said, Chad, it's guys like you that can make it. I don't know if I'm on a movement, but obviously we have a voice in it in some matter of in some way or another. But can we get back there, Kyle? Can we get the lyric out front again and the true validity of what and the transparency of a lyric in the song?
Absolutely. And he's exactly right. I mean, it's dudes like yourself and it's dudes like him as well. Sturgill Simpson, Tyler Childers, Chris Stapleton has crossed over from the real revival, real music revival to the mainstream country music world, but is still writing that real stuff. And I think that he was the one that kind of opened the gates most recently for that 3 chords and the truth mentality, where it doesn't have to be an 808 drop, some sort of crazy cover of Fat Bottom Girls live that turns into a 14-minute montage. It's real music. I think that it's already finding its way, that you have stuff like outlaw country music for a reason, that there's going to be 2 lanes, that you're going to have commercial country music, which is going to be the poppier stuff, and then you're going to have that kind of southern rock, outlaw, roadhouse, Americana country world.
Makes total sense. And when you listen to a Blackberry album and you hear Charlie do what he does and the way that they write a song, do you look at that as the gospel of what music is right now as far as a band, and or do you look at that as just like that's going to always have to stay in its lane? Can Blackberry get more mainstream because first of all, their musicianship is unparalleled in a lot of instances. They are awesome, right? They're like Derek Trucks and Susan Tedeschi, I feel like, are on a different level, which they are.
Oh, for sure.
And when she sings a song, like Mr. Prine, he just passed. But when she sings Angel from Montgomery, and I love Bonnie Raitt, but when Susan does it, I'm just like blown out of the water, right?
Right.
But they're not mainstream. I guess my whole idea about it is like, is there a settlement going on within that mindset of a Blackberry, of a Tedeschi Trucks, of a Kyle Daniel, of a Brent Cobb? When Brent Cobb says stuff like it's going to do what it's going to do and he refers to country music, is there a settlement or a settling mentality of, hey, it is what it is. We're never going to get out of this box. We're not going to be the commercialized people that are going to be showcased and promoted, and people are going to have to fight to find us kind of ordeal, because you can't go on to most country music platforms and find a Kyle Daniel track unless you search it. Now that's part of life in searching it, but can it ever get easier than that for the listener to be or to be permeated with that sound? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, I think, you said something about staying in your own lane. First off, I love Blackberry Smoke. I think those dudes are great. Paul and I have been buddies for a few years now and text back and forth randomly. And we just did the Southern Rock Cruise with them last year. And as a matter of fact, we're supposed to be playing with them in August, but I have a good feeling that's not going to go down any longer. But all this to say, those dudes, there's one Blackberry Smoke. There's one Government Mule. There's one Allman Brothers band. There's one Tedeschi Trucks band. And I think that's the really beautiful thing about it, is that they're all their own thing. And if I wouldn't necessarily say that Blackberry is the gospel of Southern rock and roll right now. Those dudes are great. I don't take what they're doing as necessarily the gospel, because I'm a huge Allman Brothers fan, just like those dudes were. And as far as Southern rock and roll is concerned, I think Greg Allman wrote that Southern rock and roll Bible, just for what it's worth. But yeah, man, that's who I would say would kind of be the pioneers of Southern rock and roll.
And do you think that it will be more mainstream, or do you think it's always going to have to stay in its lane? Because I think that there's a lot of music on country radio that was never intended to be country. It was not country in its roots. It was R&B, it was pop, it was even rock. There's rock guys on there that wanted to be rockers that saw country music being popular, in my opinion, and they became commercially accepted in it, because when they couldn't make it in the rock per se, maybe. I'm guessing on that. I'm not saying that for sure.
Right.
But when somebody like Florida Georgia Line that were rappers and hip hop ish and they got stomach tattoos and all of this stuff going on, and then they're going to come into this space and try to trick people that they're country. This isn't your opinion. This is mine. Okay. So you don't have to back me up. I'm simply saying this on my podcast. They're not country. You can tell me until you're blue in the face that those guys are country, and they're not country. I promise you that a million times. Well, why is it because we have Nelly? No, Nelly's more country than you guys. He grew up in the outbanks of St. Louis. He's probably eaten more country meals than you have. I'm not degrading them. I'm not saying that their music's not trendy. I'm just simply saying that's not country music. Now, Scott Bruschetta could tell me until I'm blue in the face. Yes, they are country music. And I'd say, Mr. Bruschetta, I respect what you've done with Big Machine, but those guys are nowhere near country music, and they should not be on country music radio. That's the problem here, in my opinion, Kyle, is that it's not country music, but you're tricking people and thinking it is by calling it country music radio. That's the underlying theme of my problem right now, is that everybody can stay in their lane. And I can go find outlaw country and listen to Shooter Jennings all day long, the electric rodeo. I love it. But country music radio, the highway, is not country. All of it. It's not. And that's what I'm trying to get across to you, is that my whole thing is like, that's just wool being pulled over people's eyes. That's not country. It's just commercialized bullshit that if you think that's country, you're wrong. Now, if you want to go dance to it over here, do it. I'll dance to a Florida, or what do they call them now? FLG. I'll dance to a FLG tune and be at a party with the Solo Red Cup and drinking a little whiskey out of it. No problem. But don't tell me it's country.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree, man. I agree. And I think that at the end of the day, it all boils down to the song, because if you kind of look back, look at Chicken Fried, Zac Brown. I saw Zac Brown at Bonnaroo in 2003 playing like they were a jam band, and then all of a sudden here comes Chicken Fried, and now they're on country radio. You could look back even further, because I'm from Bowling Green, Kentucky. I'm from right around where the Kentucky Headhunters were from. And Greg Martin, the guitar player, taught me how to play guitar growing up. And they didn't think that they were country at all. They thought they were a rock and roll band until Dumas Walker hit country radio and exploded. And it changed their entire career. But they have one Dumas Walker. That's not exactly what they sound like all the time. So, as far as staying in your lane and it kind of there being a separation between country music and this, we'll call it this underground following, if you must, because people like Government Mule and Tedeschi Trucks and Brent and Lucas Nelson, if you don't know, they're tough to find. Like you said, you got to kind of do your research to like go in and find them, or hit Spotify or Shazam and try to figure out who somebody is. But I really think that I think that it boils down to the song, because at any given moment, Brent could have a song that could flip him over into country music stardom, and a major record label put thousands of dollars behind the marketing of him in this song, and it's game over. I think that's the difference, So
wait a minute, is my argument wrong then, Kyle? And I don't mean to interrupt you, but am I wrong in a way? Because what I'm hearing you say is that maybe I'm wrong to have that thought process, that maybe you don't care to be country or labeled as country. Maybe I'm trying to label you and Channing and Brent Cobb country when you guys don't. Maybe the Kentucky Headhunters were being labeled country when they really didn't give a shit to be labeled country. Maybe I'm the one that's looking at it through tainted glasses right now of being, well, maybe Florida Georgia Line really is country, and I'm missing the boat that these guys, maybe you don't want to be country music. I don't know. Nashville's supposed to be country music, which I know that a lot of Kings of Leon, and there's a lot of different mixture and melting pot of music and vibe in the city now. But am I wrong to think that I'm trying to label you guys country when you're really not?
No, I mean, I think that there's different colors in the country wheelhouse these days. That you've got that, like I said, that Roadhouse kind of country, blues country thing. You've got dudes that are more that folk Americana country. There's your Brents and your Jason Isbells, and then you got good old Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky boys like Stapleton and Sturgill and Tyler, and I think that there's so many different threads of country music. Some people would probably call what Blackberry Smoke is doing country music. they're kind of that Southern rock world of country. But yeah, man, no, I don't think you're wrong in your assessment whatsoever, because I don't think Florida Georgia Line is country either. I definitely think that those guys are pop. Their music is pop. Their show is pop. Their content's pop. It's all pop music. It's just not played on pop radio. It's played on country radio.
And that's where the issue is with me, is that
right. It's marketing. It's all marketing. They could take anybody and say, oh, we're going to put a pair of Wranglers on this dude and a Stetson hat and make him look like Clint Black. And that's that. You put enough money behind something, you can make people believe it.
Isn't that crazy though? Like, well, it's funny because the one of our biggest stars ever that was labeled country music just passed, Kenny Rogers. And when you learn about Kenny and his upbringing in the music industry, it kind of went the same way, to where, did Kenny grow up country? Maybe. Was his first band the Edition? I have that wrong. What was it called? The Final Edition? It wasn't New Edition. That was an R&B band, but it was something Edition, if I remember right. But they were more trying to make mainstream, and then the Lady song came out, and they went country. They just became bigger and bigger. And then the story of how The Gambler came about, how Johnny Cash cut it and it didn't make it, and then Kenny cut it and it blows up, and then they make the short movie about him. And I learned a lot of that through documentary and reading up on Kenny Rogers. But I was a Kenny Rogers huge fan my whole life, and Kenny Rogers was country. But was he country, or was he manufactured country because they grabbed him and said, well, if this one hits, and then all of a sudden he's selling out arenas everywhere and buying mansions, and he had 3 jets at one time, and he's worth like $250 million. I don't even know how much money he's worth now. When he passed, I think $250 million, they said. But was he country? I don't know now. But on the cover of the freaking, you just said you put a cowboy hat on, make him look like Clint Black. Well, did they, or is that fake? Because when you look on the cover of the album called The Gambler, he looks country, he looks Western, he looks cowboyish. So I always thought he was country. Is he country? I don't know. That's a good question for Willie Nelson. Is Willie Nelson country? He's got the hippie side of him. He's got the marijuana side of him. But when you listen, if before my dad passed, who's your favorite country music artist? He'd say Merle and Willie. So you know what I'm asking? Is Kenny Rogers really country, or was he manufactured country? And is that what they're doing with Florida Georgia Line? Because he's way more country than they are, but are they both in that same boat of manufactured country?
I think it's a sign of the times as well. You know, we've definitely come a long way since the 60s and 70s when these guys started really kicking up in what we would call country music. And nowadays with the way that technology has progressed, and you know, you've got a lot of the drummers that are all playing these major music festivals. And I bring those up because the major music festivals are fueled by country radio. And the country radio is fueled by the major record labels that are pushing them the content. So it's, you know, it starts with the major record label, then it gets to radio, and then from radio, then you've got all these promoters that are doing these massive music festivals, and you show up and from 4 o'clock until the night is over on any given day, I would almost venture to say that every single person, act, band, what have you, will have an SKB pad and a computer sitting back there running tracks. That to me is not country music, but in 2020, that's country music. You talk about a dirt road, and a pickup truck, and you know,
keep going. You're talking my language right now. Keep it. This is what I've been trying to tell people for 5 or 10 years, dude. Right. It's not country. That's not country.
You can smell it on a lot of this stuff too. And maybe I think that's where I get so frustrated with a lot of it is like, it's like, how are these people getting fooled by this, thinking that this is, you know, that this is real shit? Once again,
it's like my dream that one day I wake up and I think Garth Brooks is country. I think Garth Brooks is awesome. I think Garth Brooks has been great for country music. I think Garth Brooks is a good human being. My dream is I wake up and I open up my newspaper or my laptop and I go and I see Garth Brooks, Brent Cobb, Kyle Daniel, Channing Wilson will all join. Adam Hood will all be on Garth's tour this year. He will bring all of these guys up on stage and tell the audience of, I think it was something like 7.7 million tickets. I don't remember how many he sold in his last tour. It is amazing in number. And he goes, this is country. Because with a voice like that, knowing that country music is in the state of it is with the drum pads and all of these mixers and the things that you're talking about and the steel guitar and the live essence of it is, and being able to sit there and watch I just think back to like the late 90s, like a Tracy Lawrence concert. I could stand there and before Tracy went through what he did, I'd be like, that's freaking country. And then Chestnut would get up there and I'd be like, that's country. There was something different about that. That was like the golden era for me of my age group of real country. And now I'm in this new life, this new essence. Like, where did Travis go? Well, he's making a new album. Well, who's he writing with? Oh, I wonder why. And I'm not going to let out of the bag who Travis is writing with lately, but there's a freaking reason why he's writing with who he's writing with lately. And then I go, now I'm in this new stage of my life, right? I'm 45. I'm not old. I'm not young. I'm not midlife yet. I don't even consider that. I feel great, right? But now I'm introduced to this whole new level of country music again, where it went through this down period for me where I'm just like, what is country music radio doing? If I hear another song about a cornfield with a hot chick on a tailgate, I'm going to lose my freaking mind because that's not country to me. Now, some will argue that that is country. That's what happens in the country. Very, very seldomly does that happen. And now I got you and I got Brent and I got Channing. I got all these guys that I truly believe in. And as soon as I got introduced to your music, I'm just like, fucking awesome, man. Perfect. I got one. I got another one. We're building our radio station here, man. We're building our concert for Garth Brooks to take Kyle and Brent and all these guys and give him his validation. Like, hey, Country Music America, everybody that's out there in the Pittsburgh Steelers stadium that watches me, like I sold it out, 17 nights in a row. So now I get to bring Kyle on stage 17 nights, like what he just did with John Party. John is commercialized now, but John's country and John can sing a country song like George Strait can and John can deliver it. Now, is he being commercialized? Heck yeah. He's going to make some money and he deserves it. But he would be the same guy that got up there with Garth and went, hey, this is my buddy Brent Cobb, this is my buddy Leith Lofton, and this is country music. And that's what I'm dreaming is going to happen, is that there's going to be some validity put in it by the Garth and have Chestnut come up there and have Travis come back. And I understand that things evolve and country music is going to do what country music does. And like Brent says, well, don't you think that this guy would have been, no, it was Andy Griggs goes, well, that Hank Williams would have been upset when the new guys got famous. And I'm like, but he still would have been relevant. He still would have been relevant. That's country to me. So that's like my dream, man. And I could talk about that until I'm blue in the face. And somebody like Scott Bruschetta would be like, dude, I'm worth millions and millions of dollars off of doing things the way that I saw fit. And that's fine. That's cool. The whole history of Big Machine and groups like that, I respect the business efforts of it. I just don't respect somebody trying to go, we got enough money to invest in these white rappers and we're going to call them Florida Georgia Line and we're going to do this with them. And I'm just like, I saw movies about this. I've seen movies where they dress people up and make them rappers, and they're not really rappers, I've seen this happen in movies, and it's like a movie taking place in front of my eyes. Not to say that I wouldn't sit in a room with those guys and drink a beer and be buddies with them, but I would tell them, you guys aren't country music, man. I'm sorry to say. So anyway, I'll get off my little mini soapbox.
Hey, no, man, all good. First things first, Garth, if you are watching or listening, let's make that tour happen for sure. But man, hey, Charlie Daniels does a really good job of that. And from my understanding has kind of always been that way to bring the younger dudes up and give them an opportunity to play in front of some people, to be seen and be heard. And I kind of said last year, we did over 100 shows and we had some great opportunities. We toured with the Cadillac 3 and went out with Blackstone Cherry, who
I love them.
Rock and roll side,
Kentucky, right? Kentucky, right?
Oh yeah.
I absolutely, dude. I'd pay to see you and them on the stage any night. Those guys rip, man.
It was great, man. It was us, Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown, and Blackstone Cherry. And if you don't know who Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown are, you
love
should
them. Absolutely love every album. I literally bought them all on the same day and started supporting them and love their shit, dude.
Oh yeah.
If anybody's listening to this, get their albums. He rocks.
He's a monster guitar player, and so that was a great little run. We went out with a group called Vintage Trouble and was able to go overseas and do some stuff last year. And man, it just I was fortunate that we got the opportunities that we got. And I think it was just a matter of being in front of the people, that it started to grow once we had the people there. It's really hard nowadays in 2020 to be an instant success, an overnight success, or to see it just skyrocket. It doesn't matter what you do, whether you're touring or, your songs are great, your recordings are great, this, that, and the other.
And nor do you want it. And nor do you want it to be overnight.
No, of course not. Of course not. And I think that the people that are just now kind of like discovering what is happening with me, thinking that like maybe I just started doing this 2 years ago. It's like, man, no, it's for like 18 years. So it's
which makes the taste that much sweeter when it finally does pop. But it's gonna go because you have way too much talent. Like when I was coming up and I was reading Hit Parader and Circus Magazine, they were my Bibles. Like my first concert ever was Dee Snider and Twisted Sister opened for Bruce Dickinson and Iron Maiden. My dad made me leave right after Eddie that came out and they started worshiping the devil and 666 and the Number of the Beast came on. I'm like, oh God, Dad said, we're out of here. But he let me stick through TS. If I would have saw Blackstone Cherry in those magazines and got onto him, I would have been like, that's the golden age of rock. Like that is rock and roll right there. Now today, what happened? I don't know, but you don't hear about a Blackstone Cherry as much as you heard about Rat, and MTV had a big part to do with it, and Friday night videos and all of that. It was a great time to be a rocker. But now you hear a band like Blackstone Cherry and you're just like, am I out of the mainstream to not know who they are, or are they just not out there like they should because they got mad skills, right?
Oh yeah, they're great, man. They're great, Chris.
But is it true that they're not out there like a big band was in the heyday of rock and roll?
Oh, for sure, dude. Yeah, and you said, you were talking about that early '90s, that world, man. I'm just sitting here talking about country music. We'll take a completely different turn with like early '90s alt rock. I grew up loving Green Day and Weezer and Marilyn Manson and Korn and that whole thing. And it was a different game back then. You had so many rock and roll bands that were on the up and up, that stayed on the up and up. You think about bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers, and the Spin Doctors and Blues Traveler, even going into more
Counting Crows,
all of those dudes. They have huge, lengthy, evergreen careers because that was just a different time of music. You think about the same thing with country music. You think about Clint Black, Alan Jackson, Garth Brooks, those three alone, Reba McEntire, Lori Morgan, all these different people, they have long, lengthy, Tracy Lawrence, all these long, lengthy careers based on when they were able to be accessed by the masses. And nowadays it's so tough to keep somebody's attention for 35 seconds that you've got to really sell it in the first 35 seconds of who you are and what you're doing and how you sound and what it is. And if you don't hook them, man, it's tough to get people's attention nowadays because there's so many other things.
Yeah. And hopefully like with our platform to where we have a generated, engaged audience, right? Like they watch what we do. They see us on TV. They hear us on a podcast. They might see us on social. So if Kyle Daniel can hook me in that 30 seconds that he got with me, and then I can take it and say, okay, to all of our TV audience and to all of our podcast audience and to everybody that follows us on social, now our live events that you mix in, and now we get a corporate company. Let's just say it's Traeger. Traeger's throwing a big hoedown, right? Hey, Tyler, this Chad, what's up, dude? Hey, I got this guy, Kyle. I want to get his music out here in Utah, Nevada. Let's bring him out. All right, get a cost. Let's bring him and his band. I do it all the time, right? So now I want to hit on all these cylinders of saying, if they got me hooked and I can get him in front of all these people, well, maybe, just maybe, we can get that rise going on like the Hat Pack did, like with the Clint Blacks and the Chestnuts and Joe Diffie, God, I can't believe he's gone. But that whole time frame like sticks to me. Like, where did this go? Oh, what? Where did it go? It's right here. There's Kyle and there's Brent and there's Channing and there's all these badasses that are right here ready for us to hear them. And all we got to do is listen and have them easily, accessible to us. And that's my goal is like, if we can get the right musician on here to do it, if John Party came on here and I could say, John, just do this one time. Let's just bring Kyle, because Garth Brooks just brought you on stage. Garth Brooks just brought John Party in Knoxville. You know what that meant to John's career? That's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And John used to play in my booth at NWTF when he had, I can't, always picking up what I can't put down. And I'm like, dude, this guy's freaking good. Little Dixon, California California pheasant hunter, likes to hunt deer, is friends with Leith Lofton. They ride together, and now he's getting some success. And now it's his turn to be like, you know what? I'm going to use my voice to be like, there's some badass bitches that I came up with. I want to introduce you to Kyle and Brent. Here we go. And that's just a cool thing that I see happening that I want to happen. If we have a little part to play in it of somebody here in Brent Cobb and telling me like those guys did today, if I told you all the stuff, if I showed you messages on my phone right now that come to me, and I'm talking hundreds per week, and I'm sure you get them too. And just let me find it. Give me a second. This one just came through, and I took a snapshot of it. I wanted to share it with you. I got so many videos downloaded from my guys today that it's hard for me to find anything. So bear with me. I apologize.
Well, and bless you, man,
can you read?
Being that guy, you know, that like, you know, it takes folks like yourself to really kind of create that environment. And so thank you for being that guy.
Well, man, I want to be there with you to do it. I don't want anything out of it. I just love the freaking lyric and the music and the talent. Read that message right there. I don't know if you can see that through the camera. Is that legible?
Your show was the first time I'd ever heard of Drake White, and then below it, put her down just a little bit. Been listening to him now over something. Been
listening to him ever since.
There you go. So,
and I can just keep showing them to you of Leith and how do I get that song Wingman and where can I see this guy in concert and where, you know, and it's like, dude, people are paying attention to the songs that they hear on our shows. So why can't we work a little harder to help Kyle? Not that you asked for it. I want to make sure everybody knows that Kyle didn't come to me and say, hey, I'll pay you big money to be on your podcast or TV show. No, this is me going to Kyle and saying, dude, you're badass. Let's work and get this. People deserve to hear this music. It's quite the opposite of you wanting it. Not that you won't take it. I'm just simply saying that you didn't come to me or your PR firm or your management and say, hey, we want to get Kyle on the show. Okay. This one right here. You see that? How long it is?
Oh, yeah.
I just finished watching Drake White's live concert stream, and I must say thank you for bringing artists like him and Leith Lofton to all of us that share the way our thinking in life is. Between that, your show and your podcast, and now the cookbook coming soon, you're making the hunting community and the world a better place for all of us. So I'm not saying that in rah-rah. I'm simply saying that what if we can? What if we can, Kyle, just be like, dude, this is our radio station, man. This is us. This is what we want out there. And not that that FLG and those guys can't go make a living. Everybody can make a living, right? It's America. But dude, let's get this music out there and just have a small part in it. And that could be Garth's small part, man. Garth has paid the dues. He's a trailblazer. He's the most successful country music artist of all time, in my opinion. He's outsold the Beatles. He's outsold Michael Jackson. I don't know if he's worth as much money as Toby Keith or Jay-Z, but it doesn't matter because he's destroyed every record known to man. And he can just be like, dude, when I hear Chris Knight and Kyle Daniel on stage the other night, I went back to my roots of Oklahoma, coming up in the honky tonks and the bars, and I want to introduce Kyle Daniel to you. Kyle, sing him a song. And then he comes on and does it with you. God dang, man. Come on. The music just has to happen. That's all I'm saying, dude.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. Zach Brown's another great guy at this. I remember 3-4 years ago, I'd be at a show. You know, Zach hunts with us, and I get to go to a show here and there.
Yeah.
Hey, Belden, go out and watch this guy on stage. Well, who is he? Sturgill Simpson. I go, never heard of him. He goes, I'm not kidding you. We're in a boat bass fishing. He goes, this is the best shit I've heard in a minute. That's the first time I've ever heard anybody say in a minute. I guess it's a Southern thing. You know, it's not like I'll be there in a minute, meaning 60 seconds. He meant like in 10 years, this is the best music I've heard. And he goes, this is what Jamie Johnson would have been commercially. This is Sturgill Simpson. And he plays it. And I'm like, and this was like the King of Shit Mountain song, you know, that whole song, that whole vibe. A little bit of Sturgill's new stuff. I'm a little bit not sold on it yet, but I still love him. But then I went and watched him live. And I'm like, Zach is doing this for people. Then he had Drake White open up. Zach is very gracious in that. He's got a big fan base, and he brings these artists out to support music. And I just have this vision of that happening with Garth, of being like, here is Brent and Kyle and Channing, and just like this, just one time you get to sing. I don't know, man. It might be far-fetched, but if Garth, you're listening, which I know you and Trisha are listening to this podcast, just
you just know it. I do too. Garth,
I just brother, know that he is.
I'm here. I'm easy to find. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I love it, dude. Hey, let's can we hear a song? Can we hear Ain't No Difference?
Yeah, man.
Oh, this is what. Oh, I love this.
Yeah, let's do that.
There ain't no difference between a man who has it all, the poor boy with a dream. Free will is free for all, the go-getting guarantee. There ain't no distance from here to God knows where, and luck is an illusion, it's never really there. We just got to keep on moving. When I was young, man, I sure was wrong, 'cause I thought the world was too big to turn out to be so small. And all the people in it weren't the same until I saw there ain't no difference. There ain't no difference at all. There ain't no future dwelling on the past, like an old familiar song. It hit me at last, so I packed up and left my home. There ain't nobody around here who used to know my name or who I was. Plenty of roots to watch them grow, no real reason, just because. When I was young, man, I sure was wrong. I thought the world was too big to turn out to be so small. And all the people in it weren't the same until I saw there ain't no difference. There ain't no difference at all. Oh, at all. There ain't no difference between the man who has it all, the poor boy with a dream. Free will is free for all, the go-getting guarantee.
Good night, dude. I had to bring Ben on for a little bit of FaceTime so he could soak it up, dude. This is like,
I love it.
oh man, that song. Good night.
Thank you
God
so much.
dang it, man. I love I don't know how you say it. I don't know if it's the grittiness or the truth, or it's almost Chris Knightish, man. I'm telling you, it's almost, I don't know if you've ever heard that or been compared to it, but it's got the same effect to me a lot of his lyric. Like, I could see you writing, It Ain't Easy Being Me. Like, it's the same vibe to me, the grittiness, the life story of admitting you were not probably the best person at 20 that you are now, that unplugged and not tainted and not manufactured. I don't think Chris Knight probably will ever drive into Nashville city limits ever again. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Like, Chris Knight is Chris Knight, right? That dude's on a different level of stay. But that's what I get out of it. That same feeling when I first heard my first trailer tapes of Chris Knight. That's the same feeling that I'm getting when I hear Kyle Daniel, and it's just so refreshing. And when Brent Cobb speaks about you, when Ben speaks about you, like, that sumbitch is the real deal kind of attitude, right? You are. And that's why, man, I'm just glad that it was introduced to me, because it's freaking awesome, brother. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
I really think it's awesome. I got to hear another one. I got my favorites.
All right.
Do you feel like playing, either Born to Lose, Somebody Ain't Me, or What's There to Say?
Oh,
I don't know which one comes off the best to hear. You feel it right now. I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you feel any of those?
yeah. Let's do What's There to Say. That'll be a good one.
Saying I'm sorry feels broken, cold like my heart. Never meant to hurt no one, never meant to tear us apart. 'Cause I thought salvation could never feel so far away. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm living in vain. What's there to say when you set a soul on fire? There ain't a thing makes it easier to burn when there ain't nothing left but a selfish man's desire. What's there to say when you set a soul on fire? Laying here lonesome, it hit me all over again. Is it a blessing? Is it a curse in the end? 'Cause I still feel all of the trouble that I put us through. Maybe I deserve it, maybe I'm haunted by you. But what's there to say when you set a soul on fire? There ain't a thing that makes it easier to burn when there ain't nothing left but a selfish man's desire. Tell me what's there to say when you set a soul on fire? Would you feel the same if you walked away? 'Cause I thought about it 1,000 nights. Could you set my soul on fire? Could you set my soul on fire? What's there to say? 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 What's there to say when you set a soul on fire?
Brother, I don't even know, man. I mean, I'm talking just so deep and just awesome lyric, man. It's got to be put out front.
Thank you very much.
If I ended it by saying, what would you play to be your last song that you've written? What would you want the people to hear if it was the last time they got to hear, if it's the grand finale or if it's the encore of your last concert of the song you've written so far at this stage in your life? Do you have one that sticks to you? Is it the one with Cobb that you've already done, or is there one that just makes you really grip onto your career so far?
Man, I got a brand new song that I feel like has started to resonate a lot. And I know that the songs that if I were to play this, all of the songs would have kind of been in the same world, in the Americana kind of ballad, singer-songwriter type of world, in which what I do live is much different. Live and a live electric, dual guitar harmonies and 3-part vocal harmonies and big rock and roll endings and stuff like that. But obviously you can't translate that into an acoustic guitar, and it's a lot different to do something like that. But I wrote this song with my right-hand man, Seth Renfro, who plays in the band. And Adam Wright over there at Carnival Music. If you guys don't know Adam Wright as a songwriter, he's also somebody to look out for. He's a killer writer. And my parents recently sold the house that I grew up in, and they moved out. Dad bought a bunch of land out in the country, and they built a house out there, and didn't think anything of it when he just kind of did away with the home phone line. But I got to thinking about it one night when we were on tour headed back home about how I'll never be able to call that 7-digit number ever again and hear my sweet mama pick up the phone and be like, yeah, honey, what do you need? What can I do to help you? Or calling home when I needed money or what have you, or even just to call and listen to the answer machine. Cause my mom always, was the one that was doing that. But, I don't think my dad knew what kind of impact that it made on my life. And I think this is going to go on our next record. So this song's called Landline.
Oh, God, I already love it. Hey, 775-972-7070. I still remember mine like it was yesterday, calling home with my mom and dad. Never get to call it again, brother. I already love this concept. Roll with it. This is awesome.
Dug a quarter out of my Levi's, put it in an old payphone. Called my mama missing home. She always used to tell me it didn't matter what time it was. Whenever I called, she'd pick up. 'Cause I still feel those numbers under my fingertips, and I still hear that voice on the other side. But home never used to be that hard to find. Landline. Oh, in that first year in college, way down in Tennessee, I didn't have much, but she gave it all to me. Never been that far from home, and I thought I'd be alright. Those 7 digits got me through some nights. 'Cause I still feel those numbers under my fingertips, and I still hear that voice on the other side. Home never used to be that hard to find. Landline. Oh, now I'm all grown up to the man she held me be, and realize just what she meant to me. I call every now and then, and I just let it ring, so I could hear her voice on that machine. 'Cause I still feel those numbers under my fingertips, and I still hear that voice on the other side. Home never used to be that hard to find. Landline.
freaking should be monster, dude. In an age of Siri, in an age of the way that home can never be so hard to find, feeling the numbers, the realities of life, the substance of life, the substance of our being, right? Like living life the way life was intended. And I'm not anybody to tell anybody how to live a life, but simple things and my gratitude towards people like you bringing it back, and my thankfulness of growing up in a time where I got to feel those numbers, and to know that now that song just made me miss it, and the sound, the distinct feel of the push buttons or the rotary, the way that it would feel on the side of your fingers, and then the anticipation of the ring, and then who was going to run to it to answer it. There was no caller ID, so it was always a surprise, and all of those emotions going through my body of my mom and dad in the house and the brothers and the way that we were brought up. It's more than just a phone number. It's more than just a communication line. It is a landline to keep us grounded, to keep us rooted, to fucking never let us forget of who we are and where we come from. And that is what a song is supposed to do, brother. That was freaking awesome, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah, man, you nailed it, brother. I mean, I always kind of felt like when that left, I told my dad, I was like, I think you cut the cord on the lifeline to the heart of the family. As weird as that sounds, like that was
true though.
That was something that you always knew that somebody was going to pick it up, or that answering machine was going to pick it up, one or the other.
Man, Kyle, let's do this again so we can hear some more songs. Everybody, Kyle Daniel, Daniel. I'm talking legitimate, the real deal. He comes from the right school of mind, and when it comes to the lyric and putting the song first, putting life first. Let's support these musicians. They're not asking for it. They're just pouring their heart and soul into their lyric and their chord progressions and their song and their live shows. Go support them. Get their merch. Support them in times right now to where they can't tour. Let's make these guys our friends. They want to be our friends. They are not arrogant. They are real human beings that have a good voice and a good message for you, your sons, your daughters, your aunts, your uncles, your girlfriends, your wives. I don't care who it is. Kyle Daniel is the real deal. And he, like I said, man, I'm a fan. Thank you so much for being here, brother. I can't wait to do this again. I can't wait to see you live.
Now, thank you so much for having me today, brother. I really appreciate it. Let's do it again.
It won't be the last, I promise. Kyle Daniel, everybody, on Instagram. Go ahead, Kyle.
Kyle Daniel Music.
At Kyle Daniel Music, and a website.
KyleDanielMusic.com.
Kyle Daniel Music. Again, no S on Daniel. Check him out. We're going to be rocking him on everything that we do. We can't wait to see y'all at a live show. This has been another episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody. I'm your host, Chad Belding. Again, keep supporting the partners and sponsors that support us. We do not take any of this for granted. We're humbled to get to bring these messages to you. Thank you all so much for the support. It's very kind of all of you. Today's episode, again, was brought to you by Whiskey Jam, Music City, USA, Nashville, Midtown. Thank them when you see them. Go check out a show when you're in Nashville. I know you're all are going to head there. It's Music City, USA. Tom, hit that button. You know what? I'm going to do something different today. We always go out with Leith Lofton. What's she going to do when the money's all gone? What song can we go out with? What do you want me to put on the end of this? Which track can I run, Kyle?
Hey, man, Born to Lose, Hangover Town, whatever you want.
Okay.
You name it. It's your choice.
This is Kyle Daniel, Hangover Town. I'm glad he said that one. We're going out with Kyle Daniel, Hangover Town. Thank you all so much. Check out Kyle Daniel Music on Instagram, KyleDanielMusic.com. Thank you guys so much.